be a case of you two idiots, because seemingly even bosses who are paying Harry and Meghan a substantial amount of money are tiring now of their antics, particularly when it basically makes, well, shall we say, less money for them. As ever, let me explain. Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here. Nice to see you. Hope you're all keeping well. Fine and dandy, as I often say. Lovely, as I say, if you're still in that post-Christmas love, that sort of point, isn't it, where you think, what do we do now? You've eaten too much. You can't be bothered to move, can you? I know what it's like. And then you think, well, I've got to do something. But of course, now we're all waiting for New Year's Eve, if you can afford it, of course, with that cost of living crisis, as we told you, over here in the United Kingdom and probably across everywhere, in fact, the world. They're now charging money to get into sort of public spaces. Before it used to be just community spirit, didn't you? You could pop in, have a drink and wish each other, Merry Christmas or Happy New Year. You pay for everything now, don't you? Gosh, I sound tighter than ever, don't I? But you know what I'm saying. Back as ever to your breaking royal story of the day. As I often say here on the show, you couldn't make some of these things up, because when you look at people like Harry and Meghan and all celebrities, as I've said before, that's what they now are, basically celebrities. But the bottom line is they get paid a lot of money, and basically they pay a lot of people a lot of money to advise them for good and bad, whether things work, whether they don't. And when you have product to sell, which is what Harry and Meghan are now selling, whether it be her podcast, his Netflix documentary, his book, it's all about public perception, how you keep the public on side in order to make sure that your brand, your product is available, ready, and more importantly, welcomed to be bought. Now, as you can imagine, Harry and Meghan clearly are not very adept at this. This is because they've now managed to upset one of the biggest publishers in the world. And even their own publishers, Penguin Random House, are none too pleased with this, as ever, allegedly. This is because, as you saw a couple of weeks ago now, there was a bit of a rumpus going between Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and the Top Gear presenter, Jeremy Clarkson, who wrote some ill-advised words in his weekly column for the newspaper The Sun and The Times. Now, what's interesting here is that it all really kicked off and, became a big story as ever. But when you think about it, it was a lot of fluff and nonsense that would have gone away very quickly, which is what Harry and Meghan were advised to do. Ignore it. Oh no. They put out a statement claiming they didn't really accept that menial public apology that Mr. Clarkson put forward. But now, as Penguin Random House are finding favourable reviews, particularly when you're pushing a book that you've paid millions for, is going to be rather tricky. And as ever, this is going to be more difficult for Prince Harry, considering the fact that The Sun, The Times, The Wall Street Journal, Fox News, Fox Business, all of those periodicals and many more around the world, including those out in Australia, New Zealand and Canada, well, they're all going to be turning against the book. This is because the media clubs together, and more importantly, they felt that, they were not necessarily responsible for the words. People can say, well, the editor signed them off. Absolutely. But it's free speech, isn't it? It's what Mr. Clarkson wished to say and do. It's odd, isn't it, in the world of Harry and Meghan? When they say things about their own family, that's free speech and it's their truth, their narrative. The minute they read something they don't like about themselves, oh dear, rushing off printing statements. The bigger problem now is those statements can cost them dearly, because if the public turn against the book with negative reviews and, of course, critique pieces in these periodicals, then Penguin Random House are definitely looking for something to do with that book. I often say here on the show, if you wait long enough, you'll find them in the pound shops and dollar shops. And this looks likely now, thanks to their big outburst regarding Mr. Clarkson, where this particular book could be heading. As ever, when I know more, you'll know more. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.